up, nation? Welcome to the Monday show. My name, Philip DeFranco, and this show, just me talking about news and tap stuff and things that matter to me today. And nation, let's talk about one of the big things in tech today, and that was Apple's WWDC 2012. For those of you not in the know, that's where Apple makes a bunch of big announcements, sometimes they release new products, and so I'm going to consolidate the whole 2-hour event into everything that stood out to me, starting with the new MacBook Airs. Because the MacBook Airs were previously the underperforming runts of the MacBook line. Like, really, the only positive things I could say about when they were first released was like, oh yeah, I guess you can fill it in a manila envelope. That's gonna come in handy for sure. And while many people thought the MacBook Air was somehow going to get smaller, it's not. But it's not all bad because they've upgraded the guts. I mean, you have the new Ivy Bridge processors that are capped at 2 gigahertz. All these computers now start with 4 gigabytes of RAM, which, come on, really, that's the minimum these days. Don't brag about it. Though you can upgrade it to 8 gigabytes, and then of course, 512 gigabytes solid state drive running at say to 3 speeds. And then of course, the very smart inclusion finally of a USB 3.0, a 720p camera, and they cut $100 off the price tag. And so I think the big thing here is Apple has this very strong base now. And ultimately, the MacBook Air, it kind of gets me excited because it's perfect for the minimalist. Like, it's light, it's tiny, it's convenient, it's fast as all hell unless you're editing video. But on the negative end, as far as price point, Apple really doesn't have anything to compete with netbooks. But at the same time, it doesn't seem like Apple really wants to compete at that $300 to $500 range. Then there were the new MacBook Pros. These are running up to a 2.6 gigahertz Core i7, and that's being paired with NVIDIA's GeForce GT 650 with 1 gigabyte of video memory. But then Apple also dropped the new next-gen MacBook Pro with Retina display, which has a 2800 by 1800 resolution on a 15.4-inch screen. That, of course, being a part of Apple's like, we have more pixels than your HD screen, bitch. Then it has a quad-core 2.7 gigahertz processor that is turbo boostable to 3.7 gigahertz, the GeForce GT 650M again, then 768 gigabytes of solid-state drive, 2 Thunderbolt ports, HDMI, an SD card slot, USB 3.0, and MagSafe 2. And then there are little things like custom asymmetrical internal fans so that it's not loud, which if you ever had an old MacBook Pro, I mean, it would sound like you were starting a jet engine. And you'll also notice these MacBook Pros are thinner, and that is most likely because there is no optical drive. We were also left saying, rest in peace, 17-inch MacBook Pro. His heart was just too big. Also, we weighed a shit ton and it didn't make sense. Computers aren't getting Siri, but you'll be able to dictate things to it. Instead of just declining calls, you can say, I can't answer right now, I'm on my way though, or several other options. Then they start talking about the new operating system, iOS 6. The first big thing here is the iPad now has Siri, which Apple says is getting better. I know in my personal use, unless my iPhone has perfect connection, Siri's like, maybe just ask me again later. And they showed how Siri is now integrated with like OpenTable and Yelp so that you can not only see how good a restaurant is, but order a table. How you can ask Siri about a movie, and now not only get the rating from Rotten Tomatoes, but buy tickets with Fandango. Also, Siri is getting a language update, those being Canadian French, Spanish, Italian, German, Korean, plus Mandarin and Cantonese in China. Then there's full Facebook integration on the phone, so no matter what you're doing, if you're like, hey, I want to share this on Facebook, you can add even more pointless things into your timeline. Yay! Then new features like a do not disturb preference. That turns off calls and messages for when you go to sleep, but it's different than just turning your phone on airplane mode, because you are actually getting text updates that someone did call you, but your phone's not lighting up, and like if you're like, oh, in the middle of the night, I want to check, it's there and ready for you if you want to answer. But at the same time, you can set specific numbers that can get through your do not disturb, which I will say, I know they set this up for people that, want to go to sleep and don't want to be annoyed. I think I'm going to put this feature on all the time, so only like, the really important people get through. My parents, my girlfriend, and the super secret phone that my assistant uses if it's an emergency. Then another one of their updates was that you can now FaceTime over 3G without having to mess with your phone and cheat it. They did say, though, the quality will not be as good as Wi-Fi. Well, no shit. And then Apple debuted something that got me really excited, and that was Passbook. Passbook is their new mobile wallet that takes everything from like your regular credit card, your Fandango account, your Starbucks card. It takes all of those cards you use and puts it into one place. And outside of the regular way people use credit cards, they gave interesting examples of how you would use this. For example, let's say you buy movie tickets online. You then go to the theater where your phone's GPS goes like, oh shit, I'm at the theater. And then it gives you your electronic ticket on your phone ready to be scanned. You don't have to wait in the regular line behind the guy that needs to pay an exact change. You don't have to wait in the kiosk lane with the old lady trying to figure out how computers work. Boom, done, automatic convenience. And this isn't just an Apple thing, this sort of technology on all phones, I really hope this is where it goes. Then let's talk about browsers, because there's the new Safari, specifically the live synchronization of tabs in Mountain Lion. You have a few tabs open, you're reading on your computer, oh, I gotta run out of the house, oh, it's on my tablet or my phone. And then one of the really big things, a lot of people have been talking about how Google Maps will not be on iPhones in the future, and today Apple finally revealed their Map app, and the big thing here is, oh my god, finally, turn-by-turn navigation. It'll also have like this 3D thing called flyover, but I don't care about turn-by-turn direction. It also has integration with Yelp, which is kind of nice, but another big thing is it actually updates based on traffic. And finally, with the new Map app, if you're like, oh man, I really hope there's gas, hey Siri, where's a gas station? She can update your route so that you hit a gas station and then you just get back on your way. And the last notable thing Apple launched wasn't actually a part of the WWDC, they did it afterwards, and and it was that they were resurrecting the Mac Pro line. And it was a really unexpected move from Apple because Mac Pro, the sales have been kind of bad for a while. I imagine that's probably due to the Mac Pro essentially staying the same for a very long time while everything else was getting upgrades. And they announced all the ready-to-go models, which, you know, were priced at like $2,500, $3,000, but I wanted to see what a top-of-the-line Mac Pro would cost. So let's see, you could get two 3.06 gigahertz 6-core processors, so you get 12 cores, 64 gigabytes of RAM, because apparently that's how you roll. Then slap on 2 terabytes of solid-state hard drive space, then an ATI Radeon HD 5870 graphics card, then two 27-inch Apple LED displays, and then without the fiber channel card, because that's very specific, we tack on some Apple Care for $250, and we need it, because a computer now costs $14,456. So yeah, that's a thing. So overall, what do we have from this WWDC? We have big updates and upgrades to the MacBook Air line and the MacBook Pro line, but at the same time, after seeing all of these new things, I couldn't help but think, man, I would really hate to be an Apple developer. Many of the things they announced to be native apps were what other apps did before, or at least what they were trying to do, and now Apple made them obsolete, and then the integration of features that have been available on other phones for a very long time. And all of those criticisms aside, to things I am excited about, Maps, Passbook, and hopefully a Siri that works in more ways in my life, if that makes any sense. So yeah, let me know what you think down below. Mac fanboys, PC fanboys, just battle to the death. This is the internet, that's what it was made for. And nation, from there we move on to Sexy Time News, where I consolidate everything I found sexy today. Starting with Kelly Brooke, who for some reason was part of a Philips body groom barbershop competition photo shoot, because of course nothing sells body grooming products like Kelly Brooke in a black dominatrix rubber outfit. Then of course, one of my dirty little secrets, Kim Kardashian, was posing in Esquire showing that her booty makes her buoyant. And while I do constantly criticize Kim Kardashian and her family's contribution to society, that ass. Then something some people will find sexy and some people will want to burn with fire is Snooki's cell phone was hacked and nudes were leaked. And out of all the pictures, there are 3 where you can verify, oh, it's actually her. So if you're ever like, man, I wish that 4'11" girl on Jersey Shore was naked, that's a thing on the internet now. I'm not gonna include those pictures in this video because I'm not a fan of being sued, but Google's always a thing. And then of course the final bit of sexy news, if you missed the new Sunday show, I featured a whole gallery of The Nation is Sexy, which are ladies from The Nation that sent in pictures. Links to that and everything else I'm mentioning in today's show down below. But yeah, that's been Sexy Time News. And Nation, let's talk about our douchebag and BAMF of the day. Because our douchebag of the day is 34-year-old Anthony Sanchez. Anthony is an elected California official whose job title reads Imperial Irrigation District Director. But that has nothing to do with why he's the douchebag of the day today, which is he was caught on camera beating his stepson. Sanchez was upset the boy couldn't catch a baseball that the stepdad was throwing violently, forcing the boy to dodge out of the way instead of trying to catch it, and then as punishment, he would beat him with a belt. Luckily, our BAMF of the day, Oscar, was at home. He saw this happening, he whipped out his cell phone and caught everything. And luckily for the boy who was getting beat by his stepfather, Oscar was not just a voyeur, and he screamed out and he stopped the abuse.
That's enough, fuckstick! That's enough! Me. Yeah, me. I'm having a fucking problem with you for beating the shit out of him because he won't catch the damn ball. You know my son? I don't know your son, but I'm watching you. I'm a fucking father too. You know how he acts? There's got to be a better way to treat him than fucking try to teach him with a ball like that. Why don't you come over here and teach me?
Oh my God, Oscar.
And since the event was recorded, a lot has happened. The video went viral. Sanchez was charged with suspicion of felony child abuse, but he was also released on $100,000 bail, and I imagine he's back home. And so here's the main thing with this story. I think it comes down to kind of what the Sheriff's County spokesperson said. Every parent in the state of California has the right by law to discipline their child. But when you cross the line between what's legal and what's not legal, that's infliction of injury. And also, what's the point of hitting your child for this? I mean, I guess child abuse worked out for Michael Jackson's dad and Tiger Woods' dad, because this is a terrible reason to beat your child. But I'm not gonna be like those hippie parents that are like, I'm never gonna hit my child. You have to have context. For example, my dad slapped me in the face one time. I was 5 years old, I told him to go fuck himself, and he slapped me in the face. That makes sense. You don't say that to your parents. But then you have your mom and your stepdad who maybe like to drink and don't really hit you with context. All that did was teach me like, oh, you shouldn't drink alcohol because it turns you into an evil person. And so for the longest time in my life, I thought like everyone that drank alcohol was crazy. And it really wouldn't surprise me with this stepdad beating his kid if there was alcohol involved. Or maybe Sanchez is just a shitty person in general, who knows? And actually, that's gonna be our question of the day today. Do you think it is wrong to hit your child at all in certain situations? Apparently all the time. And also something I wanna mention that apparently none of the other blogs want to cover. Where is the mom? Some reports were saying that she was just inside the house, she was aware of what's happening. If that's true, she's just as fault, if not worse. That's her blood, her baby being beat because he can't catch a baseball. And really, I'm left hoping, 1, he loses his job, 2, he's kept away from this child so he cannot inflict any more harm, and 3, for all I care, this guy could go die in a fire and go to that special place reserved in hell for people like him and Joe Jackson. But guys, that's really everything I wanted to talk about today, and it brings us to the part of the show where I throw something at your face, and today it is $50 worth of stuff from forhumanpeoples.com. And of course, to possibly get pelted on the face with said thing, just leave a comment on this video, and of course, a big thanks to those of you that clickety-clack the like button, favorite when you really like it, share wherever you share things. But whether you did or not doesn't change the fact that my name's Philip DeFranco, you've just been filled in. I love your faces, and I'll see you tomorrow.